Welcome. The Office of the Chief Data Officer and the Texas Department of Information Resources are pleased to offer this course on Structuring Data Governance Models for Organizational Success. By the end of this course, you will understand different data governance operational models, how to determine the right model for your organization, and best practices for establishing a successful data governance program. In 2021, the Texas State Legislature passed Senate Bill 475. The bill amended Texas Government Code Chapter 2054 to require all Texas state agencies and institutions of higher education with more than 150 full-time employees to designate a data management officer. Key among the data management officer responsibilities defined in the Government Code is to establish their organization's data governance program. A data governance program focuses on setting business-centric policies and procedures around how decisions about data are made, what people are expected to do with the data, and the goals the data management processes should accomplish for the purpose of informing and driving business strategy. Data governance programs are not one-size-fits-all, but rather are organizationally and culturally specific. Organizations differ in size, have different business functions, and different priorities and needs. Therefore, each organization should establish a data governance program with an organizational structure that complements and aligns with the structure and function of the organization itself. Based on the Data Management Association International's Data Management Body of Knowledge, the Texas Data Management Framework Fast Start Learning Guide describes several operational models that organizations may consider when establishing their data governance programs. Let's explore these various methods for successfully integrating data governance and data management into the organization. In a decentralized model, data governance and data management responsibilities are distributed across different business and IT areas. The model has a flat structure, and each individual area has authority over its own data, as well as a clear understanding of its own data requirements, making this model relatively easy to implement and improve. However, as many individuals across different lines of business are involved in decision-making in this model, it may be difficult to implement collaborative decisions or enforce consistency across the organization. Further, the decentralized model may not be well formalized, and therefore may become ineffective or difficult to sustain over time. Much like the decentralized model, in a network model, data governance and data management responsibilities are distributed across different business and IT areas. However, cross-business connections and roles are formalized and documented in a RACI matrix, describing which roles are responsible for, accountable for, consulted, or informed on data management activities. This model also has a flat structure, and each individual area has a clear understanding of its own data requirements. Like the decentralized model, a network model is easy to implement and improve, but an established RACI matrix helps create additional accountability between the different areas. Many individuals are involved in decision-making in a network model, so it may be hard to implement collaborative decisions or enforce consistency across the organization, and it may be difficult to sustain over time. The network model also requires documented processes to enforce and maintain the responsibilities laid out in the RACI matrix. Experts and standards from organizations such as the Data Management Association International consider the centralized model as the most formal and mature approach to data governance. In a centralized model, a formal executive position such as a data management officer is responsible for the organization's overall data management program. The data management officer often facilitates a data governance council or other strategic body to establish enterprise-wide policies and procedures for all data assets across all lines of business within the organization. Because of the formal top-down structure of this model, decision-making may be easier, and consistency is more likely than in other models. While centralization of data governance can be more efficient and exert greater control over data assets, it is not always possible to implement. The establishment of a centralized model often requires significant organizational change management processes to ensure buy-in and support. Further, Separating the control and management of data from core business processes can result in knowledge being lost over time. Therefore, it is imperative that data governance roles and responsibilities are clearly documented, and collaborative relationships between the data management program, business areas, and information technology departments are established. A hybrid model has elements of both the centralized and the decentralized model, and may work best in larger organizations with multiple programs and data collection processes. In a hybrid model, a top-level centralized data management program works with decentralized business groups, usually through an executive or strategic steering committee representing the different lines of business, and through tactical working groups formed to address specific issues or data management principles. Different data governance roles across the organization may be centralized or decentralized, and the organizational culture determines how those roles and responsibilities are defined and divided. A hybrid model can establish appropriate direction from the executive or strategic level of the organization. However, each individual line of business is empowered to meet program-specific data requirements based on their own needs and priorities, especially when supported by a data management program that can bring focus and attention to those needs. A hybrid model may require additional staff to manage the various data management processes across different business units. Additionally, differences in business unit priorities may need to be addressed or managed from a centralized perspective to prevent conflicts with the overall organizational priorities. In large, diverse organizations with multiple programs, departments, or units that gather data, the data management and governance architecture is often federated. A variation on the hybrid model, a federated model uses a centralized strategy with decentralized execution. A federated data governance program is designed in a way so that some aspects of the program are administered by a central authority in a data governance hub, making it easier to prioritize certain efforts across the organization, and other aspects remain the responsibility of the various organizational units. This is an approach that generally works well for large, heterogeneous organizations in which centralizing all governance tasks is either not feasible or not desirable. Some tasks to have centralized in a data governance hub might be legal compliance policies, an organizational business glossary, and metadata standards. What tasks are centralized and what tasks are reserved for the organizational units can vary from program to program and must take into account the reality of the organizational culture and how data is collected and used across the various units. With the additional layer of a centralized authority, the federated model is significantly more complex than other models, and it requires a balance between the needs of the dispersed lines of business and the overall needs of the organization. An enterprise-wide data strategy that defines the data governance roles and responsibilities throughout the organization and policies to enforce data management processes will go a long way to maintaining that balance. As we've said before, data governance programs are organizationally and culturally specific. Finding the right model to use is critical since the model will be the structure through which data governance policies and processes will be defined and executed. A data management operational structure that aligns with how the organization as a whole is structured and how programs within the organization are managed is more likely to be sustainable than programs that do not. You should consider: is the organizational structure hierarchical or relatively flat? Is the level of authority centralized, decentralized, or a combination of both? Is the organization large with multiple data domains, and if so, are there common priorities across domains? How complex are the data domains, and are some more complex than others? Texas Government Code directs designated data management officers to conduct a data maturity assessment of their organization's data governance program. The Texas Administrative Code outlines the minimum elements to include in the assessment and directs state agencies and institutions of higher education to conduct the data maturity assessment at least every 2 years. Conducting a data maturity assessment is a good way to understand the effectiveness of current data governance and data management processes. A data maturity assessment provides an opportunity to have conversations with key stakeholders on the business side of the organization, as well as the technical side, to gain insight into what works well, and where improvements or new processes may be needed. Furthermore, stakeholders may reveal how satisfied they are with the current state and give an indication of how supportive and receptive they are to organizational change. While there are certain elements outlined in the Texas Administrative Code that must be included in an organization's data maturity assessment, there are questions to consider as part of the assessment process. To assess the role of data in the organization, you might ask, what role does data play in day-to-day business processes? What role does it play in the organizational strategy? Does the organization have the information it needs to make timely, accurate business decisions? To assess cultural norms about data, you might ask, what obstacles might exist to implementing or improving data management and governance structures? To assess current data management and data governance practices, you might ask, who currently makes decisions about data? How are those decisions made and implemented? To assess how work is organized and executed, you might ask, what business processes and structures are currently in place that can support formal data management? What data management activities are already occurring within the organization? To assess the security of data in the organization, you might ask, is data classified, managed appropriately, and protected according to relevant laws and regulations? To assess how reporting relationships are organized, you might ask, what is the current data management organizational structure? To assess current skill levels, you might ask, what abilities do people have to manage data? Do all data users understand data management principles and how it impacts the organization's mission and goals? An organization's needs and priorities may change over time. New programs may be developed, or there may be structural changes within the organization itself. Organizational change management processes are critical for adaptability and to ensure the continued relevance of the operational model. Regular reassessment and continued conversations will help organizations know whether the chosen model continues to operate effectively, could use improvement, or should be changed to a different model altogether. Determining the most appropriate organizational structure is only one step toward a successful data governance program. Several other factors should be considered to help ensure a successful transition to a fully integrated data management process. A successful data governance program makes sure all data users, regardless of their role in the organization, know what data management is, how it supports and helps advance the organization's mission and goals, and how their work will be affected by it. Data governance programs, regardless of the operational model, benefit from establishing a vision and agreed-upon guiding principles that articulate shared values to serve as reference points from which decisions can be made. It is the first step in creating a data governance program that effectively drives changes in behavior. Data governance programs benefit when there is an executive sponsor who believes in the initiative. An executive sponsor who champions the data governance program can help secure additional buy-in and ensure processes are effectively implemented and sustained for the long term. Leaders across the organization need to agree on how data governance aligns with the mission and goals of their programs and the organization overall, how success will be defined, and how to consistently communicate the benefits of data governance with the rest of the organization. Effective data governance and data management requires collaboration and coordination across the organization, especially as there may be overlapping responsibilities related to different data management principles. A successful data governance program encourages partnerships to create alignment between the business or program areas, data management, information technology and security, data privacy, and records management. For data management to be effective, it must be incorporated into an organization's business processes. For many organizations, this can be a significant structural and cultural change. A proactive organizational change management strategy that contains a clear and compelling vision and a well-implemented, consistent communication plan will help organizations be successful in incorporating data management into their business processes and a guided, measured organizational change process will help ensure behavioral change is sustained. Depending on the data culture within the organization, a new data governance program may choose to start small and focus on one or more high-value or high-impact data domains, rather than starting with an enterprise-wide focus. Or the program might start with data governance and data management processes that already exist in the organization. An incremental rollout of a data governance program can enhance wider adoption and buy-in as the program shows value, matures, and evolves over time. Regardless of how a data governance program gets started, data management officers should establish metrics that will measure the success of incorporating data management and track those metrics to determine whether the change is working. A data literacy program can provide an avenue for orientation and training regarding the data governance program, with a focus on new policies, processes, procedures, techniques, and tools. Training can be tailored to the audience so it is appropriate to the need. For example, leadership and stakeholders at the executive or strategic level may need to understand the value data management and data governance bring to the organization, while data stewards and custodians at the tactical or operational level may require a deeper, more detailed understanding of the data management initiative. Texas Government Code directs organizations with more than 150 full-time employees to conduct a data maturity assessment of their organization's data governance program. And the Texas Administrative Code directs those organizations to conduct the assessment at least every 2 years. Even if your organization does not fall under those requirements, regular and repeated assessments of the organization's data governance and data management maturity provide important feedback on where improvements can be made, and ensures processes remain effective and aligned with the evolving needs of the organization. By following these best practices and establishing an appropriate data management organizational structure, data governance programs can successfully enable the organization to use data effectively to inform and drive business strategy. You have now completed the course on Structuring Data Governance, Models for Organizational Success. In this course, we talked about different data governance operational models, how to determine the right model for your organization, and best practices for establishing a successful data governance program. For more information on data governance and data management principles, visit the Office of the Chief Data Officer website.